name is Anna and welcome back to my knitting channel. Today I have a monthly knitting podcast for you where I will share my finished objects, some works in progress and any acquisitions. So grab your favorite drink, maybe tea or coffee, and let's begin. And let's begin with my finished objects. The first one, it's actually the one I'm wearing, and this is my latest finished garment. It's Ivy Blouse by PetiteKnit. And I showed you this project in the last podcast as work in progress, and here it is done, and I'm extremely happy how it turned out. I'm beyond in love with the color, the shape, the fit. I'm really happy. So now let me give you a little bit of details about this project. As I mentioned, this is Ivy Blouse pattern by PetiteKnit, and I will leave links and names to all the items and all the project I mentioned today in the description box below, so you could check that out later. The pattern designed to be knitted with 2 strands held together of mohair, so that's what I did as well. I used 2 strands of mohair for this project, and the yarn I actually used is new yarn from Kremke. They released it this year, end of last year, I can't remember for sure. That's their kid cotton. Yes, kid cotton mohair, so it's a mohair on a cotton thread instead of more usual silk or polyamide, so it's a bit different. To the texture and to everything else, it feels kind of exactly the same. The only difference, if you don't like silk or polyester, you could give it a try to cotton. So this is 65% mohair and 35% cotton. It's actually organic cotton in this used, and the color I have is color 15 and it's called Meadow Green. It's this beautiful, I would call it maybe like fresh apple, if you know the green Granny Smith's apple color, something along those lines, plus mix of kiwi and fresh leaves and grass color. Like it's very interesting, very beautiful color. So I knitted this garment held in 2 strands of kid cotton together as recommended in the pattern, and I knitted size L for myself to be slightly a looser fit. It's not significantly oversized, you could see it's still quite snug on the sides, and the sleeves are quite slim and snug as well, so I'm happy with this. The pattern comes in many sizes, I think starting from extra small to 5XL, and I knitted size L for myself. I knitted using 3.5mm needles for this, and it's the recommended needles in the pattern, and I hit the gauge with the same needles. One thing to mention, I use bamboo needles for this, and my tension usually with bamboo a bit slightly tighter, so you might have to play around with your needles if you're using bamboo, metal or any other wooden needles. Just check your gauge. For the whole garment I use only 225 grams of yarn, and it's like longer feet, long sleeves, nothing cropped, so I think it's very good usage of the yarn. Only 225 grams of kid cotton I use for this, and just overall I'm extremely happy. If you would like to know more about the construction, so it's kind of a variation of a saddle short shoulder mixed with raglan. I think they call it snuglan, I'm not sure, but yeah, so at the start you work like in creases for the front and back for the shoulders, and then you need front and backs kind of joining here to be like a raglan line, and then you just joining around and knitting flat down. One modification I did for the top part of construction is the increases. So when you join and start kind of knitting the raglan lines, the pattern recommends you to do increases on every other row. When I was 4 increases left before joining the front and back, I actually started doing increases in every 3rd row instead of every 2nd. So I lengthened the length of my raglan line. Again, that just to make sure that the fit is not extremely tight here underneath the arms. So that's one of the modifications I did. The second modification was regarding the decreases on the sleeves. The pattern called for my size quite a rapid decreases. I think it's like every 8th or 10th or something like that a row. For me, I felt it was too much. I only did actually 4 decreases, and I did them every 40th row. As you could see, it's quite a big difference, and still my sleeves are very slim, but at the end it's slightly loose. As you could see, like it's quite a bit of fabric here, and that's how I like it. I don't like my sleeve to be too tight. I prefer it, especially in this like a light and airy garment, to be more loose and light and flowy, if you could say. So that's the second modification I did. Everything else I needed as the pattern recommends, the collar, the ends, everything bind off. I didn't change anything, I just needed as the pattern except for those 2 modifications. So my overall experience with the pattern, with the final design, I absolutely love it, and I definitely could recommend it. I have already knitted the sweater version of Ivy. Now this is my Ivy blouse, and I think the top and t-shirt, I think they have top and t-shirt as well. Could be on my needles this year as well, I don't promise, but I just absolutely love this design, and I actually haven't thought that way when I started knitting the first sweater. I was thinking like, I'll give it a try, and if I don't like it, I'll gift it to someone, but I actually absolutely loved it so much that, as you could see, I casted on the blouse almost straight away. So I really could recommend this pattern. Now moving on to my next project. So I have 3 more finished objects to show you, and 3 of them are accessories, and I will start with the first one, which is kind of special for me. As I said, it's quite a special finished object for me because it's my own new sock design that I just released it in month of April. And this is my Aymara socks. You saw them in the previous episode as a work in progress, and now the pattern is done, test knitted and actually out, and there's already so many beautiful versions. If you like this pattern, I'll leave the link below so you can get it 1 copy for yourself as well. But basically it's a top down a construction of a sock with very interesting heel that is knitted in the round with some short rows for a perfect fit. And it's also featured this light simple cable design, which is very simple. Maybe visually this will look a bit more complicated for some people or doubting, but it's actually very easy design. The pattern is so easy to remember, so after you get the pattern like 2-3 times, repeat the pattern, you will have no problem keep going on. And I actually have people who already knitted 3 pairs of these socks. That's how addictive this pattern is for some people, because the cables are very simple, but they add such an interesting, elegant, and not looking complicated, but actually not being complicated design. This pair weighed 74 grams, and that's kind of the average between like 65 to 75 of what my testers used it for their sizes as well. So this is my pair that I work in the last videos in this like white creamy wool. This is sock yarn. I got it from yarn store called Wolle Halle in Germany. This is the yarn that comes on a cone rather than being a ball, typical sock yarn, but the content of the yarn is actually the same, 75 wool and 25 polyamide, if I remember correctly. So that's my Aymara socks, and I actually have a second pair here to show you that I knitted first, and this is knitted in Regia tweed. I don't remember the colorway, but I'll leave it all the information here on the screen. But it looks absolutely incredible in tweed yarn, and I have a few testers who knitted with tweed yarn as well, and it's the best. Like, it looks absolutely incredible. I will also insert some close-ups here so you could see, and the pictures, but basically it's I wouldn't say it's beginner friendly design, because you need to know how to knit cables. I do tell you there is some videos how to do it and things like that, but again, like, you need to have an idea how to knit cables and socks in general. But overall it's not a complicated pattern, and if you knitted socks before, you will for sure not find it difficult, more kind of like interesting. So yeah, that's my second finished project of the month, which I'm extremely happy, extremely proud. And if you like the design and you want to support me as a young designer, then please go ahead to Ravelry and get the pattern for yourself. I will be really grateful for this. Thank you. My third project was actually a test knit that I did for Catherine and Onling. They designed an easy, it's funny name, easy peasy, a chunky cloud scarf. It's a very long name as well, but it's basically the idea behind it that it's a big warm scarf knitted on very high needles. I used 8mm needles for the scarf, so you have a quick, easy to knit kind of beginner friendly design that you could wrap it up on like 2-3 days and have it ready to go. Good for gifting if you like something like that to give, because it doesn't take you extreme long time to finish it. So here it is. I have mine in a very beautiful color called Dove Blue, and the yarn that I used it for this, it's their Onling silk mohair, and it's your number 10. Onling has all their yarns numbered, so this is number 10, and it's 70% mohair and 30% silk, and this one is just in different color, but the one I needed was called Dove Blue. And this is the finished garment. As you can see, it's quite a big long scarf with this like lace motif, and the shape of it kind of like a banana shaped scarf. I will throw it over my shoulder so you have an idea how it looks. I saw options where you just tie it up like this, or you could tie it a knot. I really like because it's a very, very light design. For the whole scarf I used it exactly 2 balls of yarn, because that's another idea behind the scarf, that you could knit it until you have just a few grams left to bind off. So you use it up all the yarn you have. So I used exactly 2 balls of the mohair yarn. You could use any mohair for this. I just used the Onling because that was provided for the test knit. So can't even fit it in the camera, but it's very pretty. It's very light and great for gifting. You could actually use it as a headscarf as well if it's something that you like. Oh my god, I look cute. Yeah, so that's my project number 3. Knitted on 8mm needles, used 50 grams of ball. One thing I could mention about the needle is I am the person who loves knitting on smaller needles. My preferred had 3 to 4 range, that's, or even smaller for socks. Absolutely love 2 to 25. So I find it very hard to knit with 8mm needles. Like, it's meant to be a very quick and easy test knit. For me it was actually not so easy, especially first couple of rows, because my hands was actually aching, like they was in pain from holding such a thick needles, because I was so unused to this diameter. And yeah, the first few times I would knit only a couple of rows, put it back till a few hours, and then pick it up again. I couldn't just keep going and knitting. So that's one thing. If you're someone who uses a bigger number of needles, you might not even notice that, and it would just fly off your needles. For me, it's something that took me a while to adjust between bigger and smaller needles, especially because I had some projects like my socks that was knitted on 2.25, and then changing for 8mm. It just felt like I'm knitting with those 2 chunks of wood in my hands, like they was feeling so huge. But at the end it flew by. I got used to it, to bigger needles, and it was a very quick project. And the last project for the month is the April socks that I'm knitting in my own challenge over the Instagram. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I mentioned that in my last podcast, and I will also leave a link to the Instagram post where I fill in all the details about the challenge, how to join, when to participate, what to knit, etc. So if you're not aware but you would love to knit this leftover yarn sock that you have in your cupboard, then that challenge is for you. Go check that link out. So my April socks from the leftovers is this little pair. It's kind of shorter pair than my most of the socks. It just because I ran out of yarn. That's the simple answer. But the idea of the challenge is you take your leftover yarns and you combine them and knit a pair of socks, and that's what I did for April. We have a monthly prompt that you don't have to follow, but I tried myself to follow it every month, and the April one was knit something in pastel colors. So I had those 2 in my stash and I combined them. So the main kind of variegated multicolored yarn is a leftover of Symphony Terra yarn. It's a 75 wool, 25 polyamide standard meterage yarn in their colorway called Moonlight Glow. I only had like 40 grams left, and I wanted to combine that with something else. And I also had this tweed yarn in this lovely light pink left, so I thought they will go well together. The tweed yarn is Lana Grossa Malin White Tweed in color 149. It's actually very beautiful yarn. If you haven't tried the tweed from La Negrosa, you should give it a try. It's really nice sock yarn. It's a bit rustic but not too kind of harsh and dry, but yeah, I really love it. So I knitted this pair, and something different about this pair is actually knitted toe up, and toe up with a heel that knitted in the round, and then the short rows work flat kinda, and that's where you could add contrast colors for your heel, for example, if you're knitting socks from like leftover yarn in my case. And then at the top we have 3x1 ribbing and very elastic bind off, and on top of that I actually designed a pattern. I wrote the pattern how to knit socks from toes all the way up with this type of heel and round, and it's a great pattern to use up any leftover yarn because you knit it from the toes all the way up as long as your yarn quantity permits. That's what happened in my case. I knitted all the way up until I finished that multicolored yarn at this stage and just did the ribbing at the end, so you could use up yarn to a 0. Of course you could knit it in a single color or just in one yarn, like multicolored will look very nice because the heel won't break much of the kind of variation in multicolored yarn if you decide to go for this. But yeah, another pattern on my needles, and I'm gonna start test knitting another pair with the people in the test knit, so there will be another similar design next month, I'm sure. But that's all I have for you to show for my finished project for 1 garment, 3 accessories, and that's all. Now let's move to my work in progress. Now my works in progress. The first one you already seen it previously in the last episode, but it's still not a finished object. It's my Ingrid sweater by PetiteKnit, and I'm knitting size M. I think it's size 4 in the pattern. The pattern has a lot of sizes, I think, as well, from extra small to 5 extra large. I'm knitting size medium, but it's still quite big and oversized meant to be at the end. So I'm at the stage where I joined a knitting and round. I just knitted maybe like 3-4 centimeters after. Then I did my neckline, and just now I need to just work my body down and then do the sleeves. That's what I'm planning to do with it. And I'm knitting it actually on 5mm needles, even though the pattern calls for 4, because I only hit the gauge on 5mm needles, and that's what I'm using for the whole body. Now let me tell you about yarn. So I'm holding 2 different strands of yarn together. The first one is actually a cone yarn from the store called Knit Wolle in Germany, and this is 80% merino and 20% cashmere, 300 meters over 100 grams. I have this cone and another one as well, so I should have enough and not worry, no yarn chicken this time, hopefully. And I'm holding this one with Mohair 21 from Lang Yarns, and it's there like 21 micron super kid mohair, extremely thin, extremely soft. It has 58% mohair and 42% silk, and it's 375 meters over 25 grams. So it's way thinner than regular mohair that you could usually find, but it's really fluffy. So I'm holding those 2, knitting it on 5mm needles, and I get this lovely fabric. I'll show you the back, and I actually don't know on the camera if you can see at the part where the ribbing is, they're meant to be aligned because the back panel up to somewhere like here was actually washed. So I decided to do a mid-block kind of, because I did my swatch and hit the gauge, was knitting, everything was looking fine. And if you ever knitted with cone yarn, you know that before wash it looks kind of ugly in a way. But after you wash, there's a lot of spinning oil and dirt comes out. So the yarn blooms absolutely amazing. And so I knew I hit the gauge and everything, I did the swatch. But when I reached the part of this ribbing, there's like a big section of 2x2 ribbing. It just was looking so ugly, like I don't know how else to explain. It just was so flimsy, so loose, so yeah, just not looking great at all. And I was worried, like, did I meet the wrong gauge, like did I miscount my gauge, and things like that. So I got kind of worried, and I decided to to wash this to see if the yarn blooms. And the stitches was looking awful, like. So I did the mid block, and it's actually, yeah, it changes so much. I don't know how much you could see actually in the camera. I tried to insert close-ups if it helps. But you could actually see how the yarn washed out the spinning oil and actually became a bit lighter than it is. Like in the knitted garment here, it looks a bit more like yellowish, but here is actually very beautiful white, but not like off-white, not bleached white, but just like natural undyed white. So yeah, I'm happy I did that blog, because now I'm knitting it and I actually feel safe inside that everything looks fine and everything right. It will turn out beautifully. So yeah, so far I only did one modification, and it's for the collar. So the pattern actually calls for a mock neck, but I don't really like mock necks. I don't really wear anything with mock necks. I only needed one sweater with a mock neck, and I don't really wear it. So I'm all the way for the crew neck, so I decided that's what I'm doing. So I picked up stitches as recommended per the pattern, but just instead of knitting up higher, I bent it over and did a double neck here. Other thing I did is I used the needles one size smaller, so I cast it on 4mm needles. And did, I think, like 6 or 7 rounds on 4mm needles. Then I actually changed it to 3.5mm needles. I knitted this like small section of 12 rounds, so 6 for the front and 6 for the back when I bend it over. And then I finished it with 4mm again. So to ensure that here at the edge of the neckline it's slightly more tight. I don't like sometimes you wash the garment and the neck opens up too much and it's just too loose, and then you have to insert the elastic bands. I didn't want that, so I decided to place with needle size. It's still very elastic, it's still like my head fits absolutely no problem. So far I'm really happy with this design. I cannot wait to finish it. It's not the weather here to be able to wear it this year. It will have to wait later till October, maybe till September, that I could actually use it. But still I really want to finish it because I think it's going to be a very, very beautiful sweater. Next one is a bit I don't know, it just happened on my needle so unexpectedly, and I knitted one part of it extremely fast, I think like over 2 days, and then it just sitting around, and I'm kind of only picked it up last night, honestly. So this is a Stella Quilt cushion cover by Laura Penrose. I think you saw it on Instagram a lot of places, in a lot of other places as well, people liking it. So this is my front piece. So the front piece is this kind of like a patchwork type of design. She have 2 different designs for the front in her pattern. And the pattern comes in 2 actually sizes. I think one is for DK weight and another one for Aran weight? I'm not sure. I'll sort the details here anyway. But I'm knitting the smaller size, the design, the stitch wise, the stitch count wise, because her pattern is for a pillow that is 50 by 50 centimeters. My pillow is smaller, mine is 45 by 45, the one I'm intending to use this for. So to kind of compensate for that, I'm using the same needles, yarn in the same thickness, but I'm just casting on amount of stitches for a bigger size. So it's the smaller stitch count that I'm knitting out of the one of the 2 that recommended in the pattern, to kind of hopefully hit my size. And I actually tried it on the pillow just before this video. It fits very well. So I already have the front part done, and now I'm working on the back, and as you could see, the back has different colors, of course, because I'm running out of yarn as usual. So the yarn, it's a cotton yarn. The pattern actually uses either fingernail held double or DK weight, I think, both like woolly yarns. I decided to knit in cotton, and this is Moda Woven Cotton DK. This is 50 grams over 106 meters, and it's their I think last spring release, just plain cotton. Last year they sent me a box with a couple of balls of their cotton to try it out as they released it. But the only problem was they sent me 1 ball of each color, so I had 50 grams of different colors, and I didn't know what to do with it. Like, I honestly, I'm not a big cotton fan, like, for clothing anyways. Like, I'm more of a woolly knitter, so I didn't know what to do with that cotton. I'm not a crocheter either. I was thinking, like, to use it for something like in crocheting, and maybe do some, again, pillowcase or some other, like, decorative thingy, but I just didn't know what to use it for. And I started once knitting like a decorative collar, but I didn't hit the gauge. It wasn't looking the way I wanted, so I unraveled it, and I just didn't know what to do with that yarn. And I have quite a few balls, but just of one single color each. So then I saw pictures of the Stella quilt, and I was thinking, it's decorative. It's cotton, I could use it at home. It doesn't matter do I use it at summer or winter, because it's cotton on a pillow. It doesn't matter. And I decided to give it a go. I was like, okay, I'll knit one square, because as you can see, the fronts knitted in small squares. So I was like, okay, let me knit one square and see if I hit the gauge and how it looks, how it feels on my needles, adjust the colors. So the colors I had was kind of like in bluish range, couple of whites, because they have like off-white and cream white. And I also have like pinky, beige, creamy colors. So I decided to go for blue, because I'm blue obsessed, and you will notice, like I already showed you blue project, there is more to show. So I decided to use the blue kind of range with white, because I feel like that's go well together, and knit the front patch. What you could see here, all this white that I used, it's exactly one ball. I used it like till last, I think, 3 meters of the yarn. So if you ever decide to knit that, you need at least 50 grams of this white for the front. And then I used half a ball of the other colors, so half of the darker blue and half a ball of the lighter blue. And I ran out of yarn, so I was thinking what I want to do with the back panel, because I didn't have enough yarn. I didn't want to do it like in different colors, like pink side or something like that. First of all, I didn't want to do that patchwork again. It was tedious, and I had to weave in, I will insert a picture here, 66 ends for the front panel. So I don't want to do it again, and the same at the back. So I decided to go for a bit, for a bit different colorways and different, like, it's still the same idea. I still need a square with the 2 leftover blue ones that I had, plus 1 darker. So I actually like it like this as well. So I'm thinking it could be like 2-sided pillow cover, depending on my mood or on the weather or something else. I could use it both sides, kind of like lighter and darker. But the back panel gave me a bit of headache. So in the pattern, the designer recommends you 2 versions. One way as you knit it for the patchwork, just a bigger size. So she tells you how many stitches to cast on, and you just knit it from the corner to corner, 1 square. And then you just sew it around it, and that's it, your pattern, your pillowcase is done. But there is a second version when you pick up stitches along the edges, and you knit again the short rows to do the back panel in the same way as the little squares are made. It just, you knit it all together, so you don't need to sew it afterwards. I was thinking, okay, I don't want to carry back and front the first panel. I'll just knit it a square separately, sew it together, and it will be easier for me. So that's what I did. I cast on the recommended number of stitches. I knitted the whole square. I put it next to mine, and it was like almost 10 centimeters bigger. I was devastated, because I finished the full square and it was like almost 10 centimeters bigger than this one, the front part. So obviously I cannot sew it together because it's a wrong size. And it's happened for 2 main reasons. Well, at least that's what I'm thinking. So first of all, when you knit here, you pick up a lot of stitches here and there to do the short rows, to do the decreases, to knit all those little panels. And my tension was tighter in some areas than the others were, like, depending if I'm doing increases, decreases, or it's a short rows, my gauge kind of changes. And because you kind of like sew things together and so on, my square was tighter than the one when I just knitted one plain one. One plain was like, I was knitting fast, there was no like tension as much as when you're handling a lot of little squares and things like that, so just was way more loose, and I could feel it in when you look at the square how it was in the section where there is short rows. It was tighter and okay size, but in the section where there was increases and decreases, one side where I was doing decreases, I just did it so loosely that it's like was floppy on the side. So of course that wasn't looking good. I didn't like it. I had to unravel it. I tried to do it a bit differently, didn't work out, and unravel again. So I was feeling very demotivated because the front panel with all those squares and everything, I needed like in 2 or 3 days, and this one I was going back and forth for a couple of days and I couldn't figure it out. So I put it away for a week or so and just picked it up yesterday morning. I think the memory on my camera ended, so I had to pause, but let's continue. So as I said, I picked it up this yesterday morning and started knitting the back panel. I'm now halfway through the back panel, just starting kind of decreasing towards the smaller corner, and I hope to finish this pattern over the next few days. So far it looks fine, everything works out at this point. I hope that will stay the same for the whole item. And hopefully maybe in the next video you will see a beautiful pillow next to me with this beautiful design on it. So let's move on to the next work in progress. While we're on Laura Penrose patterns, I will show you another pattern I'm working. It's one of her designs as well. It's somewhat similar to the previous one with the idea of those two colored kind of cornered squares. This is Sweet Shop blanket that I'm knitting at the moment. I have talked about this design, about this project more in my previous video. Nothing changed since there, as I had 4 squares. That's the same, still the same. I haven't touched this project in this month. And for those one who haven't watched my previous video, I will quickly tell you about. So this is Sweet Shop blanket, pattern by Laura Penrose. I'm knitting it on 3mm needles, which is way smaller than the pattern calls. I think pattern calls for 4mm. I'm knitting in a very thin yarn. I'm using a tweed yarn from Busy Yarn. It's called Loch Lomond, and I'm using 2 colors. One is color 6, it's this like a grey oaty color, and the darkish taupe grey color number 8. So I'm combining those 2 on 3mm needles to knit a king size bed cover, which I'm hoping to finish in my life one day. That's all I could say about this project at the moment. I don't see more point to keep talking about it until there is some progress, so let's move on to the next one. The last 2 projects that I have at the moment on my needles, they kinda blended in with my acquisitions because the yarn I received for them, it's actually for a test knit, so as you can imagine I received the yarn this month and I started on the projects. So the first one is Sora Cardigan by PetiteKnit, if I pronounce it right. So it's a, oops, there's a lot of yarn attached to it. I'll tell you now why. So it's a top-down construction. It's a cardigan that features very interesting, simple, lacy, cable-ish design on the front panels. It will be on the sleeves and also on the back piece. At the back you can actually see the best at the moment, the design, but I'll show you here more detailed version as well. So I'm working on this test knit. I'm just about to join the front and back, not in a round but together to knit it flat, because obviously it's a cardigan and it's knitted flat back and forth. So I made not a bad progress so far. I still have time and it's a lovely design. I'm knitting in this kind of beautiful foresty army green color, and this test knit was sponsored by Onlink, so I'm working with their yarn with 2 of their quantities, which very hard to show you. So that's them both in green. Let me tell you about this little cones first. So this is little cones. They're so cute, if you could see. This is their like I think it's called like spider lace or something like that. This is their yarn number 13, and it's 85% wool and 5% cashmere. It's very fine thread. It has 1,600 meters over 80 grams. So each cone is 80 grams when you get it, and it has 1,600 meters. And my color is 054M, if I'm correct. So yeah, this is like just supporting additional yarn, but the main yarn I'm working with is their merino yarn, and it's number 4. 100% fine organic merino, and you have over 50 grams, you get 200 meters, and the color I'm using is color 54. So it's merino wool finger in weight. That I combine those two together to get this beautiful fabric, and I'm knitting this project on 4mm needles. I hit the gauge as per pattern on 4mm, and that's what I'm using. I still have long way because it's kind of slightly longer feet. I will insert the picture how it should look here. Longer feet kind of cardigan. So yeah, so far I'm happy with the design and with the pattern and with the designer. It's something to add as well that over the past while I have been knitting a lot of PetiteKnit patterns. As you can see, I have the Ivy blouse, I had the Ivy sweater, I have Ingrid sweater, and I had Elizabeth blouse. Like, there's a lot of PetiteKnit patterns been happening in the last few months for me. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love her designs. They're simple, they're easy to follow, and many people like it, and I think that's the reason why I'm knitting so many of them, because I see such abundance of those patterns keep coming up on the Instagram that my head is like automatically connects the dots and want to knit those designs. I feel like I want to give other designers a chance as well, so I want to try other designer patterns. And there's such a big amount of beautiful patterns out there that my head is kind of like ignoring and just choosing the PetiteKnit for some reason. I think it's just because it keeps popping up everywhere. So as you can see, my goal is now to kind of try to reduce amount of PetiteKnit patterns. I don't say I'm never going to knit them again, and I have some ideas that I still would like to knit, but I would like to try something else as well, and that's why I signed up for this test knit, to try a different designer, different pattern, different way of putting the pattern together. So it's something different for me. It's still beautiful design, it's beautiful pattern, but I would love to give you feedback as well on other designers. My channel doesn't call PetiteKnit only, so I feel like I was kind of making myself a bit to push and try something different. So that's one of the designs that, not PetiteKnit designs, that I'm trying out and actually love it. I'm knitting on 4mm needles, but if you hear it's thinner because it's 3mm over here, because I'm out of needles, because I only have one pair of 4mm needles. And I'm knitting 3 projects at the moment when I need that size. So the pillowcase was the first one. This is the second one, which is kind of on pause now, but there is some changes in the pattern that I'm waiting for. Anyway, so I could pause that for a minute and work. That's why I started knitting on the pillowcase. And now I will show you my third project on 4mm needles as well. So the last project is at quite early stage, and it's a test knit as well for a designer called Malingwire. I'm not sure if I pronounced correctly, but the girl's name is Melina. I will insert the details here. I think I butchered the name completely, oh my god. But yeah, it's a test knit for this designer, and it's my first time ever knitting her patterns or working with her, etc. So I'm kind of curious to see how she deals with test knits, because I have quite a good experience of test knitting in the back, so at the past. So I want to see how different designers work with their test knitters. I also see her way of writing the pattern and explanations and how she presented. So it's a new interesting experience for me. I like to try new patterns. So this is the Lydiara sweater. Again, I might be mispronounced here, but I will put the name on the screen. And this is my back panel with shoulders. So this is kind of like a saddles construction. You need 2 shoulder panels first. Then you pick up stitches for the back. You need the back panel with some increases for the underarms, and that's where you finish. And now I'm at the stage where I need to pick up for the front. I need the front panels before joining in the round. The pattern, why I actually applied for it in the first place, it's the cables. And I was like, oh my god, I want another cabled sweater. So that's why I applied for the test knit, and I was selected, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you so much, because it's my first time knitting with, working with this designer, and you know, when you choose a first tester, it's always a bit like how they will turn out to be. So I'm really grateful that she picked me for this test knit. So yeah, this is my project, and it's at very early stage. I still have a lot to go, and obviously with cables it doesn't go extremely fast, but it's not extremely slow project as well. But now let me tell you about yarn and the needles. So as I mentioned, I'm knitting that on 4mm needles, and I'm holding two different quantities together, both from Knitting for Olive, and it's their merino and their soft silk mohair. So the soft silk mohair has 70% kid mohair and 30 cruelty-free silk, whereas the merino one, it's 100% extra 5 merino. The merino has 250 meters over 50 grams, whereas the mohair has 225, so the standard meterage over 25 grams. And I'm knitting both in color Eucalyptus. It's a very beautiful, calm, somewhat whitened green color. I really like this combination. It's my first ever time knitting something with similar color. I never worked with this color before, and with this brand really as well. I have very limited experience working with this brand. What I could say, the mohair is really soft. Like, it's very soft, it's very gentle, it's very hairy, like it's very fluffy, but the fluff is not itchy and not tingly and stuff. The merino, I'm kind of not sure what I feel about merino, because right now in my hands when I hold the ball, it actually feels like it has cotton in it, but it's not. It's just the way it's spun and twisted. Like, it's not harsh or anything, but it has this kind of dryness that if you knit it with cotton, like, you kind of know it has that kind of weird feel to your hands. But when I knitted in the swatch, and I actually also watched those shoulder panels as well before picking up the stitches, like, it doesn't feel dry, it doesn't feel cottonish anymore. It just, in the ball, it feels slightly different, not the regular merino. For example, the merino I showed you from Onling, it's very soft, and you could touch it, yeah, it's merino, like, you could feel it, it's merino, bouncy wool and everything. This one feels more dryish and more cotton-like. But when you wash it and use it, it's actually really nice fabric. Okay, of course, I could only tell you when it's blended together with mohair. I haven't actually worked it one strand of it by itself, but still, overall, like, I'm really happy with the design and with the new yarn I'm trying. So that was my kind of acquisition slash work in progress, because those two came in April, and I actually have something else to show you. I have a few more acquisitions, so let's move on to them. The first acquisition is actually a new brand to me. I only seen them over Instagram. I never saw the yarn actually in a physical store. I never got to touch the yarn before from this brand. But I was actually very excited because one of the new stores that opened up in Romania, but they do ship within EU, they have this brand in stock, as well as some other brands that's very popular and very nice. So I was very excited to try that yarn, and the brand company I'm talking about is Maggio Yarn. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but this one of their quantities called Sunny Linen. It's made in Italy, and it's very interesting composition. So it's 50% linen, 27 alpaca, baby alpaca, 18% cotton, and 5% 5 merino. So it's not like winter yarn, but I wouldn't call it summer yarn as well, at least for the area I'm from. Like, this is too warm to wear it during like hot summer. We get like over 30 degrees Celsius here, so like alpaca and merino won't do, but I think it's perfect composition for mid-season projects or for evenings. We do get some chilly evenings sometimes, so wearing something with wool in it will be beautiful, I think. Now the color is Lagoon. It is beautiful blue, and as you could see, my blue obsession continues, and that's not all yet. So I got this wool with the idea to knit something with a thin fabric because the recommended needles are 3.5, and recommended gauge here is 27 stitches over 36 rows. That's actually what I got on 3mm wooden needles exactly, so I got 27 stitches on 3mm needles. And I'm planning to knit a long sleeve t-shirt, if that makes sense. So I'm planning to choose a design on a small gauge. Usually most of them it's t-shirts. I have few in my mind, but I haven't decided yet which one I'm gonna go for. But I want to knit it as a t-shirt, but just extend the length of the sleeve, so make it like a long sleeve. but ensuring I'm meeting the gauge for that t-shirt, if that makes sense, hopefully. So I have that, and I actually needed a swatch, as I said, because I did my gauge, and I'll insert here. It's, you know, like, because of the linen content, I don't know if you ever knitted with linen, you will know it's slightly like dry and a bit like hard. But when you actually wear something with linen and it's against your body, it warms up from your body temperature and becomes more softer, more flexible. And then when it's like this, it's slightly more kind of hard and dry. But overall, the texture is very beautiful. I really like how my stitches looks in this swatch. And yeah, so I have the gauge. I have a few ideas. One of them, I said I'm not going to do it, but it's PetiteKnit because I hit the gauge, but I would like to change it something. And there is few t-shirts from Lydiara whose patterns I never used before. I never worked with Lydiara patterns. So I'm thinking maybe I will try one of her t-shirts that she has, and yeah, I think that's my plan for this yarn. And also the yarn store, which is called Nara, they were very nice, and they decided to give a 10% discount to my followers. So with the code that you could see here on the screen, or Anna10, you could get 10% off of your order, and I will receive small commissions in return. So if you would like to get any yarn and support me at the same time, you could use a code Anna10, and I will also leave a link below as well for the yarn store directly. So that's my acquisition number 1. The second acquisition that I have, and it's kind of like the most luxurious thing. I've been sitting here over here all this video. Maybe you already wondered what comes at those, but this is something I feel like I won a lottery for it. So some other day I was scrolling on Vinted. I sometimes look at some yarn in there. If you don't know what Vinted is, it's like a second-hand app where people could sell their own things. I think it's available only in Europe, but I'm not 100% sure. And I was looking there and I saw those 2 cones of yarn for sale. It was really good price, and I decided to check what the yarn is it. And when I seen what the yarn it is, what composition it is, I added to my basket straight away and bought it because I just couldn't resist it. So those 2 cones weighed half a kilo each. And if you know a little bit about cone yarn, there is some brands that consider to be more luxurious, and one of them is Cariaggio. And this is a Cariaggio Jaipur. Yeah, Cariaggio Jaipur, which is 70% cashmere and 30% silk. It's beautiful yarn, it's luxurious. Half a kilo each in those 2 beautiful, one like dark navy and this like sky blue. Pause this video now and guess how much I paid for one of this. It's 500 grams, as I said, cashmere silk blend from Cariaggio. Write down your guesses. Well, I don't know what number did you put, but reality is I paid just under 15 euro per each cone. So just under 30 euro for a kilo of cashmere and silk blend. I think it's absolutely incredible, because these days you could get 100 ball skein of yarn at way higher price than that, and here's the whole kilo of cashmere, 70% and 30% silk blend, for just under 30 euro. I was just in shock. The one thing is, because it's a cone and it's very thin thread, I think it's 2000 something, yeah, 2800 I think meters per 100 grams, so it's very thin thread. You will need to wind up into cakes and knit it like in 2, 3, 4 threads, depending what the garment I would like to knit. But I have enough for 2 garments of a beautiful, beautiful, amazing, luxurious composition at such a great cost. So if you never check your Vinted, go ahead, you might find some treasures in there. And in general, have a look at the cone yarn, because sometimes it's so much more affordable and you could get so much nicer and more luxurious composition than just in any other yarn ball. And while we talk about the cone yarn, I will actually mention that Inga from Knitting Tradition, she's doing a knit along of cone yarn, and I actually knitting my Ingrid sweater viscose yarn, so that's my entry for that, and knit along. And if you want to knit viscose yarn and you have a Nikon yarn and want more information, you could go ahead and watch her more recent videos about that. And yeah, so I'm really happy. Oh my god, can't explain how it felt. Like when I was opening the packaging and seeing this like Cariaggi labels, I was like shaken inside from excitement, from happiness and everything. So yeah, that's my last acquisition for the month. And thank you so much for staying for all this time with me, for watching this video till the end. I'm really grateful that you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would recommend to consider subscribing it, hitting that notification bell button. And if you want to see more videos from me and enjoy it, please give this video a like. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!